Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. Hope you're well. Who's watching along already? Mark Newsom wants to know, is Messi signed, boys? Is he going to sign the dotted line for Celtic Football Club?
You find out
Yeah,
tomorrow.
you'll find out tomorrow on our transfer deadline day special at 10:30 to midnight. You'll be with us, lads, talking all things transfers, Celtic ways, and football around the world, which would be great. I'm joined by William and Anthony. How you doing, folks?
Good, mate. I have not been on with Tony for a while, so looking forward to getting stuck in.
Do you know, it was funny, I was thinking that myself, Willie, like earlier on. I was like, can't remember the last time me and Willie were on having a wee chat. So, aye, buzzing, good result at the weekend. Obviously, nice to be back on a wee kind of week off for the show. Looking forward to getting back on, Stephen. And of course, like you say, buzzing to promote our deadline night special tomorrow night. Better get the yellow tie looked at.
I've got the yellow tie, and I'm going to go to Primark tomorrow and get the ugliest white shirt you can imagine. I just have it all proppy in that. It'll be a good laugh. Looking forward to it myself. I've got a few things already wrote down now for it, so be a good crack, be a good laugh. I mean, but we'll move on, Willie. We're still 9 points clear, and like we always do on our usual podcast, professional performance against Dundee United at Tannadice. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, much as recent form. I started a wee bit slow, but once we got a foothold in the game, then there's only one winner in the end. And I think the squad and the depth as well, especially if there's a couple of players not performing on the day, then there's 4 or 5 waiting in the wings that are just as good. So, yeah, like you say, professional performance, another 3 points, another step closer to that title. All good.
100%. 12. Is there 12 games to go? I think it is in the league, something like that.
Not be far off.
Or is it more? I just think I thought I seen a figure there. Anthony said 12, but we keep winning, we keep motoring on, as people say. 9 points clear, and to be honest with you, I don't want to talk about the other side too much. They're still not really impressing me. There's nothing there going. They've changed a lot. A wee bit like the GVB days. To be honest, nothing really's changed that much. But what about yourself? How was Sunday's performance?
Aye, like Willie says, and you know, as our Franco, me and him always kind of say we like a hassle-free 2-0, and you know, that's the kind of what it pretty much turned out to be. Stephen, there was odd little hairy moment, and probably ampled way, especially in the first half, just that frustration, you know, being able to break the deadlock, because we made enough chances and we had enough of the ball. But as Wally says, once the first one goes in, you were able to relax after that. You knew that we were going to then kind of just go on and dominate again. Managed to obviously get the second goal, which killed it. And good to see O make his debut as well. Looks absolutely tremendous. As I say, I know it was only 10 minutes, but he looks a bit of a live one. It looks like we've got an absolutely smashing player. And another good one on the road. Can he be beaten?
100%. We're going to come on to It's Magic, that song the Celtic fans have already for him. Just want to come to the comments. Monty, again, coming from my beard, mate. Leave me be. Mark Nugent.
At least he's not coming for mine. Mine's is
Mark Nugent, 23 played, 15 left. Chris D, good morning from Melbourne, boys. Coffee and cigs on the menu. Have a great day, buddy. And McGranda Lawrence is in. Always good to have you, buddy. And then Plunge McNugget. I love that name. All right, comrades, 100%. Charles Smith, 3 points, no fuss. Come on. Pretty much sums it up, really. But there's a few players, obviously, I want to touch upon. And before we get on to the whole VAR stuff again, decisions and stuff, I think it's just right to kind of praise the players here on an upward type form with Celtic. And one of them players is Aaron Mooy. For me, this is me eating humble pie, like delivered in plate loads at the moment. And to be fair, I think I've seen a stat today. It's been 3 goals, 2 assists in 7 games. So 5 and 7, 5 goal involvements in 7 games. And to be fair to him, he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's took O'Reilly's place and ran with it. I think O'Reilly just had a drop in form. And Mooy, doing what every professional player does, he's took advantage of that. And at the moment, he kind of looks like it's undroppable with him, Hatate McGregor, doesn't it?
Unbelievable when you think at the start of the season, if you told me Mooy was going to keep O'Reilly at the team, I'd have laughed you out the building. He's been superb. Like, obviously, there's a few of us in the pod that have always been a fan. I don't name names, but I've always seen him as a number 6, but he's been absolutely relentless in this number 10 role, and his awareness, how he gets in between the lines, his passing ability, and he gets the odd goal as well. And also, it's nice to have a penalty take on the team, because we've had a few that have been murdered this year. He's been excellent. He's been absolutely superb. I think he's made a lot of people eat humble pie, and the word humble's a good one to use because I think he is that himself. He's never one that's been coming in, and he never came in with all the glamour and all the rest of it. But he's been second to none since he came in. And I loved Andy's comment at the end of the game as well about him. He says, "I knew what I was getting with him, but I must be a lucky man to have him anyway."
I love how he always gets the wee digs in at Ian Beale across the road. It's incredible. And see, to be fair, like Postecoglou, Anthony can deliver an interview, but our Mooy's like a cat in the headlights in that situation. He's not the greatest, but I think that comes back to what William said. Like, it's his humble. He doesn't really take the praise for himself. It's a team game for him, and I think throughout his career, it's been like that. Whether Huddersfield, Brighton, playing in China, and playing for Australia, even playing for Australia, he hardly played any club games, and getting through 90 minutes is just testament to the kind of fitness and character he shows. But again, like, people are saying I'm saying that's very gritted teeth. I am. Like, I sit with my granddad sometimes and be like, I can't believe I'm saying he's good, and it's just. I still look at him awfully and like it's RoboCop. He takes about 3 years to turn, but seeing he turns, he can play. Like,
he does, and he's got that ability to play. His passing ability is absolutely tremendous, and especially the sort of balls over the top and sort of plays like that. He's been a great addition, and like you say, Stephen, when he did first sign, even the ones who were quite supportive of it we were of the opinion that, well, he'll be a sort of kind of bit part player. He'll just come in, maybe fill the gaps if O'Reilly's injured or things like that. But he's at the point now where you have to say, if he's not playing, you do raise an eyebrow. He's just been so effective, especially in the matches since the World Cup. I think it's probably the World Cup that's just kind of kicked him on a little bit. But he's got a brilliant song after him now. It's one of my favourite songs ever. And as I say, he's not the most charismatic in when he's getting interviewed, but in terms of his action on the park, he shook Dundee United all night long.
I think I don't know who said that in the comments there, but I think it's a great point on him that because when he did first come in, I would agree that he was a bit slow and laboured and kind of slowed down the play. But I mean, he was only getting 10-15 minutes a game, and he wasn't. I don't think he was match fit. Now that he's getting games, you can see the difference in him. It's night and day. All he needed was some minutes under his belt, and I think Tony's right. The World Cup as well gave him a wee boost, and he's absolutely hit the ground running since he came back, and he is. I can't believe he's like I said, start of the season. If you told me he was keeping O'Reilly at the team, I would have laughed at you. But he is, and he's deservedly so. Yeah,
I seen at the end of the game, he was the one that pushed O over to the supporters to celebrate, kind of do the Kyogo celebration. That so again, it comes to the point where the team player comes in. You mentioned O'Reilly, William. We'll touch upon him for a second. What is this like? I don't know, like a catch-22 for him, because he was being touted for a move last year after his first 6 months. He's come into this season. He's had to fill in for Kalmak at the number 6 role, and maybe he made the switch so good that he's forgetting how to perform to his optimum levels when he's performing at the top end of the pitch, because you can see he just wants that goal. And I think once he gets that goal, he'll be flying again. He's still probably our number 1 assister in terms of secondary assist and goal involvements. But is this a case for him? We spoke about it last week for another player, but in training, just learn off the likes of Mooy, learn off McGregor, and not let that confidence issue become a major thing.
I mean, he's still a young boy. I agree he does need a goal, and he's missed a couple of chances that are should have been goals, to be fair. But I think I heard, I don't know if it was the weekend's game, but maybe the last game, I'm pretty sure they said that he's got the most assists. I don't know if it was for us or in the league. And I was like, well, that's astounding still, and he can't even get in the first 11. I think you're right. I mean, people are saying he's a bit off form, but he was outstanding when Kalmak was out the team.
Yeah.
He filled that void superbly, and I still think he's been brilliant for us. I just think that for me, in that team, there's only a handful of players that are undroppable, and unfortunately for O'Reilly, Hatate and Kalmak are 2 of them, which leaves only one more space in that midfield, and Mooy's flying at the moment. But listen, O'Reilly will get his chance, and if he takes it, he'll be in for 6 games in a row or whatever, and Mooy will take his seat out. So I don't think it's anything to be worried about. He's a top player, still a young boy, still getting plenty of minutes, seeing as we're getting 5 subs a game, which is handy for us as well. I think he's a fabulous player. Remember, Mooy's the older player as well, so O'Reilly's our future. Mooy's just the now.
Mooy's here until the summer. No, I don't know. I'm just saying. No, but to be fair, Anthony, like, Postecoglou's done it well. He's done it with Abada. He's took him out of the team when he's kind of lost form. He's even done it with the likes of Jota as well, to a certain extent, dropping them in out of games. Do you think this is another case for O'Reilly, that you've got Mooy, a seasoned professional, seasoned football player? He can probably play in any type of environment. He's kind of running the games for us, and you can kind of maybe, as a young player, get fed up and frustrated, but O'Reilly doesn't seem that type to me. After all, when he said before he came to us, he was training in a local park, he was trying for a move, reaching out to agents after he left MK Dons and that, or before MK Dons, sorry. But what do you think it's O'Reilly's place in the team is now? Do you think it's just coming off the bench and then waiting for your chance again, or what way do you think it's going to go?
Listen, there's a very good chance he'll start the game on Wednesday night, just for all we know, just the way that Ange likes to rotate the squad. But I think Wally made the point about his age as well. I mean, I think he's still only 21, 22.
21. Yeah.
Which in terms of a central midfielder is still very, very young. And he'll have a lot to learn. He's got all the ability in the world, but it's probably to use Micah Richards' favourite phrase, he did burst onto the scene when he came to Celtic. He settled in so quick. Maybe a similar, different type of impact, but maybe similar to what happened with Rio Hatate last year. He was so great those first 7 or 8 games that then you could tell he was just starting to maybe fatigue a little bit. Obviously, they've had the World Cup break and stuff, but just with the fact that he's probably as a midfielder, his body will still kind of be developing as well. So, it'll just be a case of, right, okay, you have these little kind of, as I say, not exactly low points, because it's not like he's been abysmal or anything like that. He's just not been perhaps hitting the heights that we know he's capable of. And obviously when that happens and it coincides with the likes of Aaron Mooy and Hatate and obviously McGregor returning and the other two in just tremendous form, it maybe looks as if he's off the boil a little bit. So I've absolutely no doubt that O'Reilly's will shine again. He's too good a player not to. And then you look at just the amount of options we have now. There's all the players we've just mentioned. We've just signed Iwata, J-League Player of the Year. We've got Davy Turnbull still there. He's not saying he's not saying cheerio anytime soon, hopefully. And of course, we've still got Haksabanovic in there as well. So it's like the plethora of options we've got is just tremendous. Must be absolutely soul destroying trying to keep up with us.
It's like having a cupboard full of your favourite sweets, isn't it?
Just checked there, by the way. I've just went and checked because I'm sure I heard that in the Scottish Premier League this year. O'Reilly's top with 8 assists in the whole league.
That's fantastic.
That's
fantastic.
Apparently, he's not having as good a season according to some this year. But I mean, he's ahead of Jota and Mooy and Maeda and Hatate for assists. So I mean, the stats don't lie. He might not be scoring goals, but. And that's not to say we talked about it recently, Stephen, in another pod, how he's kind of assists the assister a lot of the time.
Yeah.
He's the one that slides in the winger, the secondary assist. Yeah, so the stats drop would be interesting to see with that, because he would probably be double what he is for assists for the secondary assists. Magic player, and it's just that Mooy's on fire at the moment.
I totally agree. And you mentioned stats drop. We are planning on bringing one back shortly, but again, if it's that on, people know about that. But we'll get one up and going shortly with Tony and Stuart, and I'm sure it'll be a cracking one in regards to assist and goal expectations and all that type of stuff. I love all that number game stuff. But in terms of back to the team again, Podrick, William put in a brilliant point there, a couple of pages up, saying that we've kept 5 clean sheets in a row. And that's the best since Postecoglou's come in. And I think that deserves praise, because in between that time, we've had to play Kobayashi and Starfelt together. And many people, including Ross, out of our podcast, says Starfelt's been a bomb scare, but we've managed to still keep them 5 clean sheets. And I think that's just testament to, and I don't know about the parents or whatever, but it's just the way the team's going at the minute. It seems to be just one of these things that's happening. And we always get talked about how bad or leaky our defence may be, but the last 1.5 seasons is the best in Scotland, so we can't really be arguing with.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. We go back to stats again. Like last year, we were apparently shaky at the back, but we had the best defensive record in the league, and it shows it again. Recently, in the most recent games, and you're right, we've been able to rotate and still manage to keep a clean sheet. And I just think Johnston's been great as well. He's more sound defensively than Juranovic ever was. Juranovic was a much more technical player and better going forward. And Johnston reminds me a lot of. Now he's not a KT, but he reminds me a lot of KT. He's got engine for days. He can get up and down that line, and he's right hardy fullback in a challenge. So I think he's been an excellent addition as well. But I think honestly that it's not so much that, like, we had this whole set piece scenario last season where we were conceding that. That's obviously not been happening recently as well. CCV's been absolutely colossal, by the way. I thought he was unbelievable yesterday again. I was watching the game and he's just strolling it. Like, I know there's comparisons to Van Dijk, but he strolls the game. Unbelievable. And but I think a big thing about the whole. By the way, I'm gonna I like Starfelt. I think again he's hard in the challenge. He's great in the air. He's strong. I wouldn't say he's quick. He's not slow. I wouldn't say he's quick, but he's just always got that one where the ball's a hot potato to him when the ball comes to him and an attacker starts to press him, and it gives me the fear. Absolutely gives me the fear. It really does. That's why I was surprised to see Jens go as well. But to go back, talking about us defensively and clean sheets, I think it's just because we're so relentless going forward and the press is so good and we're just non-stop. The teams are just absolutely frightened and they can't have a go because they'll get a 9-1 like we did at Tannadice earlier on in the season. We're just relentless going forward, and I think it's defending for the front and the press as well. So it's not just the back line, it's the whole team. And we said that when Ange first came in. I know there was defensive frailties and it was all out attack, but you can see that what his philosophy is coming through. It takes time, and the team's absolutely flying out at the back, at the front, everywhere.
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest keys, as you said, there was a point in the game at Tannadice when Johnston was literally being manhandled from behind, and he was just backing off, and he's a hockey player from Canada. He's not going to be annoyed or scared by that. You know what I mean? This is meat to him. He loves that. He said it in his interview coming in. Monty did say one thing I do agree with. He needs to learn to take on the fullback or try and get round more times. But he'll get there. And I 100% think he'll get there. But Podrick came in there, Anthony, in regards to defence. And this is major praise because I haven't seen this. Carter Vickers, the best defender we've had since Mialby. That's top there. Like, do you know what I mean? And we've had some great defenders, some crap defenders in between that time. But as William rightly said, like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's how we've been defensively playing. It's the old phrase, the attack's the best form of defence, and right now for Ans and Celtic, that seems to be working.
It absolutely does, and it's hard. You'd be hard pressed to find an argument against Podrick's point there, because obviously people will say Van Dijk, and Van Dijk was he is a tremendous player, as we all know, and he's really hit the heights since he left Celtic as well. And we always know that he was a Rolls Royce of a player, as Lenny calls him. But anyone that will tell you, you remember when he was at Celtic, there was no real competition, with the fact that we knew as long as we didn't do anything majorly catastrophic that we would win the league. But he was very prone to switching off at times. And there was actually a point when the defensive partnership at that time was Van Dijk and Denayer, and I actually felt Denayer was a bit more reliable sometimes in terms of not switching off. He obviously was nowhere near the same player as Van Dijk, but you just felt that he didn't have that moment of lack of concentration. But in terms of Mialby, what a player, man! I mean, and as Podrick says, he's right up there. But Carter Vickers, we thought he was great last year. And I think he's actually even surpassed that this year. You look at the game at Ibrox, and he says yesterday as well, just none ever seems to faze him. And I think he seems to enjoy playing beside Starfelt as well, although everyone, and I'm quite bad for it myself, don't get me wrong. There's just something about Starfelt sometimes, as well, use the term the hot potato. There's just times when I'm like, it frustrates me a little bit. But in terms of bravery and winning, the physical challenges and heading the ball, he's definitely out with CCV, our best defender so far. And we just need to wait and see whether or not he's going to maintain that, or if Kobayashi's going to be the first choice partner for Carter Vickers going forward. But as you say, attack's the best form of defence. It's the only way that Ange Postecoglou will ever play, Stephen, and we're reaping the benefits of it. It's all good in the hood. Always
do plan A better. I do want to come to the comments here. Mark Kearney's in, How we doing, boys? Celtic need a presence like me in the box. Jed Thomas, with I think, Willie, with a good point here. No coincidence that the last 2 games we've lost, Welsh has played. I think, unfortunately, we all know Welsh is going to be a squad player. Paul's in. Starfelt is the best defender we've had since Ambrose. And our back line is always getting it tight. Yeah, it is. And to be fair, I'm probably culpable of it as well. But the way I kind of look at this is for European football. And someone did mention, I think it was Charles Smith, we get 70% of the ball usually in domestic football. So the real endurance levels will be seen when we reach the Champions League next season. But we'll move on, Philip. And do you know something? I'm really enjoying talking about players this time in the podcast. It's really good because it feels like it's been a while since we've had a fair go at some cracking players who are playing well. And there's another one I want to talk about. I mean, I can't really say the captain, the leader, the legend, because Bernie took that phrase, but an absolute unbelievable stalwart for Celtic Football Club, and that's Callum McGregor making his 400th appearance, Willie. And what Postecoglou said really struck with me, because he said Lennoxtown, he forgets what the dressing room looks like because that's his domain, and that is the ultimate responsibility you can give anybody at a football club, to trust your captain that much that you don't even go in before or after training. And that's just testament to the way McGregor's took this off Brown, isn't it?
Unbelievable. When I seen that, I had goosebumps. What a player. It's everything we all love as fans. Somebody that's come up through the youth and touch wood, I'm hoping. I don't think he will go anywhere. I think he'll finish his career with us. But Calmac is just everything that the club, everything you epitomises a club as a player. And I mean, the manager said it himself. He leads by example in every single way, with his voice and training when it comes to representing the club. And I couldn't believe it when I seen that, when he says the dressing. I don't know what the dressing room looks like at Livingston because that's his domain. I just think that's magic. If for your captain, for you to give him that responsibility, I just think it's gives you goosebumps. The manager's just one of a kind. I've never heard anything like that in my life. I mean, what more can you say about Calmac? He's just an absolute legend. And recently, I know when he was out the team, we definitely missed him, but we didn't miss him as much as I thought we could have. But I've seen a lot in commentary, and I spotted it myself. Like, as a number 6, there's nobody that takes the ball and drives us on. He literally grabs the whole 11 by the scruff of the neck and drives everybody forward. He's the glue in between the two. Matt O'Reilly did a great job, but nobody does it like Calmac. He's always looking for the ball. He's always popping up positions. He pops up the goals. He's always available. He's just an absolute legend, and I love the fact that he's leading by example through his voice as well. Because I've always been a massive fan, and I thought he should get the captain's armband. I thought there was nobody else, but I did think that he was going to be one that led by example. But he's everything. He's everything you want in a captain, and he gets the club. He loves the club. It's a part of him. It's a part of his DNA. Just magic. I honestly could run out of superlatives. I could sit here talking all night about him. He's just what a player as well. He's what a talent as well. It's not just the leadership skills. He's just an absolutely unbelievable, just a baller.
Yeah, 100%. I think you could just keep going on and on there, Willie, to be honest with everything you said. Brian Warrior comes in, and I do want to address this. We still have fans want McGregor moved up the park. He's key to Anne's ball from his deep position. I 100% agree with you, but I think Anne's himself there in his recent press conference alluded to the fact there might be formation changes coming next season with Iwata and stuff through the door, so there's flexibility. That was his words, that he said that Celtic might be keen to explore in terms of that. Come to the comments again. Mark Kearney, McGregor has been twice the player I thought he would be, and a captain I don't think anyone could foresee. He's an outstanding captain. And see, to be fair, Anthony, like as Willie said, like I know sometimes you get cliche in what you say and whatever, but you have to be like that with McGregor. The fact as well, he's a guy, if I was a young player at Celtic, I would look up to. He went on loan to Notts County in League Two, played whatever amount of games, and usually when people go out on loan at that young age, they're thinking that's a career over. And it wasn't the case. He fought, he came back, and Ronnie was in charge at that time, and I think he got free in a European game on the left-hand side, and ever since then, he hasn't really looked back, and he's changed the position. He's went from an advanced 10 to an 8 to 6, even played winger, left back, but he is.
I'll talk about that.
Yeah, I know, but he's just one of these guys that epitomise what Celtic stand for. Like, I know it's another cliche by saying a dying breed, but it really is. Like William said, it's in his DNA. He's followed on from Scott Brown. He learned from one of our best leaders in years in my lifetime, and he's carried that on. A lot of people doubted him. Even people were calling for the likes of Julian to be captain. I remember that was talked about around about the time who would pick up the mantelpiece. But he's fairly took it. He's ran with it. It's 400th appearance, major honours in his back pocket. It's incredible for him, like, isn't it?
It sure is. I mean, I think the stat came up yesterday that he's on, I think it's major honour number 17 he's on at the moment. That number's obviously looking like it's going to increase, hopefully quite significantly before even the season's out. He's just an absolutely tremendous player. Wally summed it up absolutely perfectly there. Stephen, it's just he is Celtic. He epitomises everything that's good and great about the club, and of course he's one of those. He's came up through the ranks. You've seen all the pictures of him, sort of 2005-06 when he's been a young laddie wearing the old Phoenix Honda strips and coming through the youth system. So he's a testament to that as well. I don't have really much more to add than what Wally already has. He's one of the best players I've ever seen at Celtic, and the fact that he's came up, he's one of your own, as they say, and Steve Rogers is a great Captain America, but there's only one leader I would ever truly bow to, and that's our man with the mask, Mr. McGregor.
Captain Sorrow. I mean, for Anthony to be lost for words of the poet, that just shows you he's a cracking player and a cracking player for Celtic, and a long may that continue. But again, we have another player to talk about, Willie, and that's Jota. He seems to be back to his best at the minute, and he absolutely ripped them a new one. And that header gave me Larson vibes, against Porto, from them angles. Like, it was absolutely incredible. And of course, Mr. Mooy up with that assist, whipped that ball. I don't know how he managed to get the whip in that. Jota's literally where the goal line is, and he managed to get the whip on his header. Like, what's going on? Incredible goal. And let's talk about Jota for a while. He's come back from his illness and he's looked great.
He's been magic. I still don't know how he scored for there. Honestly, I don't know how he's managed to score for there. Tony's your man for that.
Love the wrestling, man.
I still don't know how he scored for there. He's been brilliant since he's came back. It's an interesting one because this is what I love about this team. 6-7 weeks ago, he wasn't getting a game, and most people would be like, I don't know if I would start him because of the abundance of talent we've got. But he's been brilliant. Whether you play him on the right, the left, he's got tricks. I always talk about playing the Glasgow Celtic way. He's definitely that. Entertainment, driving, taking on players, scoring goals, getting assists. The boy's just an absolute abundance of talent. He's for us to get him for $6 million is an absolute steal. I know tomorrow we're going to go and talk about deadline day and deals and the money that's going about in football now. To get Jota for $6 million is absolute daylight robbery. But listen, we've got him. I'm loving the 70s porn star look he's got. I would definitely let him come and fix my fridge. He's just been unbelievable.
He's been incredible. And to be fair, I've got a good friend of mine who supports Liverpool, and he said he would take Jota. He really likes him as a player. I don't know if he's at that level yet, Anthony, but for me, he's going to reach new heights, and hopefully it's with Celtic. I want to come to the comments before it comes to yourself, buddy. Podrick post, some of the fans at Tannadice didn't realise Jota scored. They thought Mooy scored both goals. Paul comes in again. Love the way Jota just started the United fans with a puzzled look at his face. Like we're all puzzled when the back on that went. And Joe Finley's got with a good one, but I'll let you ask. I'll come to you here, Anthony, about Jota. To be fair, there was a clip, I don't know if you've seen it, where he literally backheeled over the left back's head. Took him for a PR. He just does some things in the pitch that's incredible. And as well, he said it's $6 million, and you look at some of the fees going about for like Anthony Gordon. 40 million quid for a guy who's played less than 50 Premier League games is disgusting. But we can get Jota for $6 million. Excellent business.
Oh, absolutely. He's just a terrific. He's one that kind of textbook Celtic winger that we absolutely love. That we absolutely love to see at Celtic. And as much as it's probably a Celtic fan's favourite position, out in the wings, by the same point, we're also quite prone to giving them our biggest, criticisms as well if they're not living up to the standards. But my God, this guy doesn't need to worry about it. He's an entertainer, but he's effective with it as well. Some of the big goals that he's scored, and his end product so often is absolutely brilliant. You can obviously, as we've seen, you can hit a free kick as well, as Jed says. Aye, absolutely. It's quite close between him and Kent, but I would say in a battle between
Just
the 70s porn star and the neighbourhood trailer park serial killer, Big Jota's coming out on top. Let's be honest.
Oh, he is incredible. Another player you can probably keep talking about, but and this is going to be slightly off here, but I think it's Joe Finley's kind of sparked a bit of debate in the comments. Well, he's going to come to you if you're on the spot, fire out a few names. Question to the panel: pick your best midfield four of your time watching Celtic.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man!
Oh, that's a hard one.
Ian or not, Willie?
I'll need time on that.
I think it's as well because obviously different system. I started going to the games in '96, so I only seen Paul McStay play probably even less than 10 times. It was the end of his career. His ankle had gone by that point. So, but Martin O'Neill played 5. Brendan sort of kind of went that way as well. But with the wingers, and it was Neil Lennon preferred the diamond. Obviously, Ange kind of plays with 3, and then 3 kind of further up. So it's hard to say who to pick 4 players.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll come back to it at the end of the show, will we? End of the podcast, and we'll see if he's come up before. Aye, 100%.
We'll give it a go. Probably everyone will be like, but how can you leave such and such out?
Yeah, you're never right.
Point with it.
Paddy Lavery, I'm just on water tonight, big man. It's the weekday. School nights can't be at that.
It looks like a rhubarb gin you've got there.
Oh, mate, I don't. That's higher circles for me. I'm as the vodka and a bit of Coke there, no problem. Coke is in the drink before anyone jumps on me there. But we'll come back to that one, Joe, at the end and see if the guys can come up with some suggestions. We've already done the best XI and stuff, best Celtic team that we think. So if you want to go back and watch that, it's great crack with the lads. But we'll kind of move on, and we'll have to talk about it, Anthony. Mm-hmm. The VAR is back in contention again. We're not going to spend the whole podcast talking about the other side here, but we've seen them give a handball that a week ago wasn't a handball. All this type of shit again rears its ugly head. But what about this Kyogo incident? Now, for me, I'll give my 2 pence worth on it. I think it's a penalty kick all day. I think I'm not all about the goalkeeper. I'm all about the centre half putting his forearm into the back of Kyogo, which kind of makes Kyogo's forward movement into the keeper, and then the keeper, boom, smashes into Kyogo. That for me is a penalty. I don't know how it wasn't a penalty kick, and I know there was shouts that he was offside, but again, it was proved he wasn't. Where do you stand on that one, first of all?
Well, I actually thought the foul was given for the defender's challenge. That's what I shouted for when I'm watching it in the house. That's what I thought it was given for, and then they started saying, "Oh, it's a potential offside," and you're like, "Well, right, okay," but that was proven on, and then they're chat, and then the people. Like the commentators, and then don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore Stilly and Petrov, but I thought he got that one wrong in the studio yesterday. Yep. He kept going on about the goalkeeper, and I'm going, I don't think it's why are they not mentioning the nudge from number? I don't know who the number 2 for Dundee United is off the top of my head, but I felt from the angles that they kept showing you, it did look. Don't get me wrong, the goalkeeper does get to the ball first and all that scenario. But it does go right through Kyogo. And I always think when you're outfield, if people say, I took the ball, but if then there's a bad follow through, a foul's normally given. So I don't understand how the rule's different for goalkeepers. My thoughts on keepers, Stephen, they're far too overprotected. But for me, and I think that I don't know if the people have maybe seen it on Facebook and other outlets this morning, there's the reverse angle. It's not from the Celtic end, but it's like, I don't know, it's like a camera angle for behind the goal line that's just looking up the left-hand side. And the impact on Kyogo, it completely, like, I thought Kyogo was kind of on his way before the contact, but he absolutely gets clattered by the keeper. But it's all stems from, as you say, the foul from the Dundee United defender. So that's why, for me, it's a penalty kick. I'm not going to go into all the stuff at Mordor because it's been proved a moot point. We know what they get. nothing surprises me with it anymore. But in terms of the second half, in terms of the penalty, now of course, this is maybe when you say, but this is what it should be used for, because incredibly, Don Robertson misses that handball. But if there was no VAR yesterday, we weren't getting a penalty for that handball in the second half. He says no. You see him clearly say no at the start, and then it goes back to VAR. It's the clearest. I totally agree with James McFadden. I know there's a process and stuff, but there is no debate about that. That is a handball, and you could have whether it's deliberate or accidental is a moot point. It's a handball. There is no debate. So I don't know why he didn't just say that in his earpiece. But then the second one, and I don't know if people say that defender had been booked in the first half. So if that's the case, how's he not been booked again for a deliberate handball, or at least a handball that's preventing a goal scoring opportunity, and being sent off? We've seen Bernabei and Matt O'Reilly get booked for let's be as charitable as I can, accidental handballs, and yet a clear deliberate handball doesn't get a booking. But I don't really think anyone mentioned it, unless I missed it yesterday in the studio afterwards. I'm like, how can 4 people in a studio not come to that conclusion? It was ridiculous. Surely, if you've got a referee, you've got an assistant referee, you've got God knows how many linesmen, 4th officials. I mean, surely one of them know the rule. Oh, by the way, he's been booked. You need to send him off. But so, again, it got the penalty call right in the second half. I wasn't overly convinced with it in the group chat, but you can at least say the first one's contestable. But the fact that Dundee United player remained on the park just shows that we're a million miles away from this technology being used properly. As we said, it's a tool, but it's only effective as the tool's using it. And as we can see, it would fail an IQ test.
They're tools.
I think as well, like Postecoglou summed it up, like when the reporters obviously pigeonhole him and try and question it. He's like, look, there's obvious issues, but I've been here before, Willie. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. He said what he wants to say on it. He wants to move on. And as Anthony said, we'll talk about the first one like Anthony did. We'll move on to the second one, which was awarded. And I think in the group chat, to be fair, you may have had a different opinion to what we were all thinking. That's fair enough. That's what it's all about. But again, I like to reiterate, I think a lot of people misconstrued what we were actually wanting the foul for. It wasn't the keeper. It was the forearm in the back of Kyogo that made Kyogo smash into the keeper and then get a clobber into the head. But where do you stand on it now after seeing replays or stills? What's the crack with yourself?
I didn't think it was a penalty at first, and then after seeing the replay again, I still didn't think. I just didn't think it was enough. I know he does. He's got his hand up and he nudges him. I just didn't, and I know Kyogo's about 3 stone, but I just didn't think it was enough of a nudge for me. But then the guys were adamant in the group chat at half time, and I thought I'm going to have to watch this again. But at the same time, I don't, like I said in the group chat, I don't know what a fucking offside or a foul or a penalty is anymore. Honest to God, I don't know where we are, where we stand. But even then, I have seen that reverse angle that Tony's talking about, and you do see a nudge, so I do understand it. For me personally, I just didn't think it was enough, and if it was at the other end, I'd have been screaming blue murder if that was given against us. So I don't know, because Kyogo's, like I said, only about 3 stone. He could have pile driver.
It's still the same kind of. It's still the same story. If it was Giakoumakis getting it,
I know, but I think if it was Giakoumakis, it wouldn't have looked half as bad because he's got a bit about him. But I totally understand why Tony and everyone else says that it should have been a penalty. Just again for me, it just was. But the second one is. Stonewall is exactly the same as the Hearts one for me when we first came out that we didn't get. But why the ref needed to go and look at the screen is beyond me. It's like, why does he need to go and look at it? Just tell him in his ear it's a handball, Stonewall penalty, get. Like Tony says, it's a tools using it. And see, just to go back on that first one as well, they made the ref go and I've never, every time, I said it yesterday, every time a refs went to that screen, a penalty's always been given. I knew the first time it wasn't. It was always going to be us, and rightly, like it was. Second one's just Stonewall. I don't know why he's not getting another booking. It's a deliberate handball. Again, we could talk about VAR every single week. It's no VAR. It's a problem. Like Tony said, it's the tools that are using it. Unfortunately.
Is it
the way I look at it, Wally, is like, see most handball decisions, like see even the ones that are given or the ones that aren't given. I think there are very, very few handballs that for me are handballs. Like you absolutely, there's no debate. That is a handball, and I can actually of all of the decisions, like see the ones that like we scream for it, or Hearts should have had that one at Rangers, or Hibs should have had this one, or whatever. I don't get too hanging about them not being given, because I actually don't think that is a handball. The way I perceive it, the only two that are absolute stonewallers that there's not a debate to be had for me was the one at Hearts. You're bang on, and the one yesterday. But the problem is if the ones given against Bernabei and O'Reilly aren't given or are given against us, that's when we start saying with the Goldson one, I think you can completely understand why it would have been given. But it's like, how are they not being given and the ones against us are? And I know they're hiding behind this, it was before the World Cup, we've changed the rules. We've no tell you we've changed the rules, but we've changed the rules now, and you're like, right, okay, so how can you then comprehend them? How can you then comprehend the ones that have not been given against Goldson then? Because if you're using this silhouette IFAB nonsense, then there's still clear penalties as well. So it seems to be, as I always say, the incompetence only seems to go one way. But there's listen, they've had all of these decisions going in their favour or against us, and they're still further behind than what they were before Beale took over.
But see the thing about it as well, that there's a rule. They need to just either make the rule. I would rather they actually just came in and said, "Listen, see if it just hits your hand. It's a handball, and that's it." Yeah. See all this silhouette. Like, I'd rather they just said that, because that seems like that's the way. The way of it, like that Bernabei one, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Because for me,
but this is the thing.
I don't know if it was recently. Like, see, like it was always like if it's an unnatural position, right? And I know that could be taken. If a ball's coming at me going like that is a natural position, but it isn't in terms of the football. But also, if your hands were in a natural position by your sides, but that ball's going right in the top bag, that's stopping that goal scoring opportunity. So for me, that's a penalty. But that's not the case. It's the rules. Just they keep saying it's up to interpretation. Well, they need to cut that out, and just somebody comes out and says this is the rule, and that's it. It's either yes or no. And if that means if the ball touches your hand, it's a foul, then fair enough. But there's too much clout. It's too much going on, and
but this is the thing. See with the penalty kicks, right? We're talking about this, right? O'Reilly and Bernabei both got booked, right? I think we all agree they weren't penalty kicks by a long shot. Freeman, the Dundee United player, literally puts his forearm out to the ball, and there's no repercussions or punishment when he should be getting a second yellow card and seeing red. Phil McGinley referred to it as a show, Willie, and I do agree with him to a certain extent in terms of it's like, look at me and my big fancy screens. I can go over and do this. You can't do that. I have these earpieces. It's pathetic. But one thing I want to ask you, that this might be me taking it to another level here, but ever since Anne's come out with a whole it won't even itself out comment, it seems like to me that these officials are kind of throwing in the odd decision here and there, being like, look, it's working for you or whatever. Does that give you that vibe? Because do you know what I mean? It seems like it's happening a bit more, or is that just me overthinking
that? I don't know. Possibly. Maybe I'm being naive. I don't like to think like that. I don't like the whole paranoia stuff and all the rest of it. But I mean, there's points where it's like you've got to look at it. It's been fairly plain to see recently. I mean, the one against us, the Goldson one against us, how that's not a handball, but even Kilmarnock against him, Wigan was a handball, or Bernabei's was a handball, or O'Reilly's, it's just like, it's beyond a joke. I do agree with Phil. I think it's as if it's like theatre now with the VAR. It's ridiculous. Again, like I said, I'm not one for the whole paranoia and the world's against us, but it's getting harder and harder to argue with people that do think that.
It is getting harder. And what about yourself, Anthony, to round it off? Do you think that comment is kind of free up a bit of the cats among the pigeons, so to speak, and they're trying their hardest to even it out?
Well, put it this way. See, when, as I always say, and Ange used the term perfectly, mental gymnastics, right? We'll use the Goldson handball, perfect example, right? The one that we didn't get at Ibrox. The referees were, and all the pundits and all your phone-in shows and all your, and the print media were falling over themselves with ad-lib rules and, you know, everything else. There was bending over backwards to try and justify why Celtic didn't get a penalty. Mark touched on this last week, and he done it really well. The minute Celtic got, and by the way, the Morton penalty is a joke. And as I say, I don't want refereeing in the favour of Celtic either. I just want common sense officiating, which there just seems to be a total lack of. The only person in that ground last week, or the two people that thought that Celtic penalty was a penalty, was the referee and the VAR official. Because nobody, I was sitting in the pub last week, it was for birthday drinks, and I was just like to my brig bar, it's not a penalty, so like, just we got back to it. And then, you know, he says, oh, he's away to look at the monitor, and I was like, surely God, that penalty can't be given. But he gave it, and, you know, then you've got Kenny McIntyre, you know, jumping on saying, oh, I've got referees texting me saying that's never a penalty, and, you know, things like that. It's like, the minute Celtic get anything that's at the very least sort of contestable, there's this absolute barrage of criticism aimed at the referees, and you're like, well, where is this when it goes against us? We get you know, told to take an upper dosage and go and get back to the ward, and yeah, it's like there is just the selective outrage is what grates on me. And Mark, you've just summed it up absolutely perfectly there. And what I'll say, Stephen, there's obviously no way of confirming it. Would that kind of train of thought surprise me? Absolutely not. I did say that, I mean, the week after the first weekend it was introduced was at Tynecastle, when we didn't get the Stonewall penalty at Hearts, and we were at Almondvale the week after, and we were in the bar beforehand, and obviously Ange had made that comment the week after that game, saying, "Oh, well, we don't." It was something like, we don't practice penalties. You know, the last time we got one was Easter Sunday. Whatever it was something like that. And every single one of us were all like that. Can guarantee you, if Celtic are winning quite comfortably today, we'll get a penalty.
Yeah.
I don't think the one at Livingston was a penalty by any stretch. I thought it was just one of those. It brushed the guy's hand, and that was it. But we were 2-0 up by that point, few minutes to go, and the minute it went, it was like we knew we were going to get that, because then that gives them the story to go, we'll see, these things even themselves out, which is why I loved when Ange just knocked that nonsense out of the park last week. It says, well, everything that's went against us will show there is no way that's evening itself out. And but listen, as I say, it's it seems to be there's not going to be any kind of, this is going to be the norm from now on, which I hate. I don't like moaning about referees when we win. I don't like moaning about referees when we lose. All we ask for is some common sense officiating. But as we've seen all too often, not just in football or anything else in this world, Stephen, common sense is sadly not all that.
The best thing about everything is, you name all these decisions against us, and it's not stopping us. We're still
exactly, Willie. Exactly. The people over at Mordor, as you say, Anthony, and the VAR officials, were still 9 points clear. So shove that up your windpipe, and we move on from the VAR debacle, as we always seem to talk about it. But again, it keeps coming up. We'll talk about, Willie. We've seen our new signing. Come on the pitch. And for his 10-minute cameo, I mean, to be fair, he looked like he liked to get in about it. He was strong. He looked mobile. Quite tall, which was surprising for me. He looked taller than he did in his signing videos, and to end it all, he whipped in a fantastic ball for a mate, and he should have scored from it. So, what think of his cameo?
He looked handy. He did. I was. I mean, I've always said that it doesn't look like Gio's gone because of what's coming out of the club. Now there's things coming out of the club, and just saying it that if there's opportunity there, so it's looking likely. So I was worried we were going to lose that physical presence, because like I love Kyogo, but we always talked about how if Kyogo's not working, Gio's perfect, because he's a total different animal, and he's strong and good in the air and all the rest of it, and all looks like he's similar. He put himself about, but not only that, he was like Kyogo, tracking back to right fullback to tackle somebody and winning the ball, and yeah, it looks like we've got, like you say, you can hardly go off 10-minute cameo, but it looks like we've got a right tasty player on us. That's a good shout, actually. And then the ball, and then that ball in my head I should have buried. excellent. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing a bit more of him.
Yeah, I think what we did see, to be fair, Anthony, was as Willie said, the effort and enthusiasm to track him back, the running, and that's not no slight and Gigi. And by the way, to everyone what's on, looks like he's confirmed he's flying to America this evening. He was apparently at Livingston collecting his stuff, and he's away to Atlanta United as it stands. But again, no slight and Gigi. What a performer he was. It's true, mate. It's true. What a performer he was. And I know. And Gigi will be sadly missed. What a player. But has come in the 10-minute cameo, as Willie rightly touched upon. He was everywhere in that pitch. He looked like he had a great first touch. He could whip a ball in, which again points to the versatility element that the Postecoglou likes in his attacks. And by all accounts, 2.5 million, young, up-and-coming South Korean prospect. Looks a good bit of business again by Anne's recruitment team.
Absolutely does. And here's hoping there's no minimum fee release clauses in his contract. That's all I'm worried about. But, it does look the business. As I say, it's one of those ones you probably can't give away too much with a 10-minute cameo. But the first thing I was thinking yesterday was just, for quite a big guy, his ball control looked really, really good. And I thought, well, it's actually the type of thing that we had with Viduka. So if we get a similar type of talent to that without the, getting his head turned by other leagues, then we're on to an absolute winner. But he's certainly saying all the right things in the press conferences and things like that. And I just think it bodes well for the rest of the season. I know we'll talk more about it tomorrow night about the window itself, but I think all in all, we're coming out stronger than what we did when we went in, and that's all you can ever ask.
100%. That's what it looks like anyway.
Sorry, Stephen. Just what I would like to say about O as well, it's like when you've only got 10 minutes on a pitch and you're in a new club and you're that type of player, it's easy to run about like a headless chicken and make yourself try too hard. But I don't think he did that. I think he tracked back when he needed to track back. He was hardy in the challenge. His physicality was great. It wasn't like I'm trying to impress. I'm just going to run everything down. It was very, very calculated, and just an excellent showing for his first 10 minutes in the hoops.
Yeah, I think that's actually a great point. He wasn't hitting like snapshots from 30 yards out or trying the spectacular. He was doing things easy, whipping balls in, connecting with his teammates, which is great to see. And Anthony, you plugged it. We will be live tomorrow night, the transfer deadline special with the Endless Celts podcast from 10:30 to 12. Not only covering Celtic's transfer activity, but we'll try and throw in a few world football transfer activities. There's a lot to talk about. A lot of high-profile players have moved in this window. So great crack with us. I mean, if you don't want to watch the Sky Sports or put on Sports Sound and listen to Richard Gordon talk shite for an hour, come to us and we'll have a bit of crack with yourselves and do it our way.
Either us boys or blooming Cavi Solakol and Daimish Jad or whatever his name is talking pish about, the fee calculator and all that nonsense. Come with the Endless Celts, boys. You'll talk better.
It'll be us for the transfer deadline day special. But to touch upon it, Willie, news confirmed that Giakoumakis today. I think it was first done by Hamish McCartan. He's got good links inside Celtic Park, and he said that he was at Livingston clearing out his stuff, moving to Atlanta after they rescued him from Ura Reds that he didn't want to actually move to. But looks like he's on that plane over to America. You going to miss the big fella?
If it's true, aye.
We know. Well, we know it's true. We know it's true.
I'll tell you tomorrow.
What about you, Anthony?
Well, listen, he of course goes with he's really took on the mantra with Kyogo's injury last season. Scored some big goals and absolutely bullied the Rangers defence every time he played them as well. And it's just one of those things. It's not worked out. We don't know if there's it's this time of year. It's always rumour mill. Was there a breaking down in communication with him and Ange and things like that? We'll never know. But big one touch. If he is away, then he'll leave with our best wishes. And as I say, I think I said this on the group chat or typed it in the comments last week. I think this might become the normal, not necessarily like a fallout player and he wants to leave or whatever, but I think the way that Ange operates, I think you're going to see the team evolve quicker, maybe a higher turnover of players. So Giakoumakis has done absolutely fantastic in his time, but of course he's not usurped Kyogo from that starting position. We've now got in a new player from an area of the world where Ange is more familiar with. He's younger, and he looks just as technical. And I'm sure once he starts getting more game time, he'll start adding to the goal tally as well. So it's just, I've never seen a Celtic. We always say, Brendan Rodgers' Celtic team was a winning machine, and Martin O'Neill's Celtic team were a winning machine. Obviously, Wee Gordon's team was very successful as well, and done more than our fair share of success in Europe. But I don't think I've ever seen Celtic as a club so relentless, just an absolute machine at this moment, whether it comes to getting signings done, whether it comes to rolling teams away on the park, whether it just, like, everything about us right now just screams big club. We've got our swagger back. We took a hell of a few blows in the COVID season, but we've definitely got our act together now, and God help anyone that thinks they're stopping us anytime soon.
Exactly, mate, exactly. And as you said, we learn from them mistakes, we move on, we get stronger, and Postecoglou said it, be agile and be aggressive in the transfer market, and sometimes you have to let players go that you wouldn't necessarily want to leave, but that's the way football is. Paddy Lavery, guys, when you three boys come to our down for a swell, to be fair, Paddy, that's probably an invitation we'll take up on someday. Don't you worry about that, mate.
Absolutely. We'll maybe take the show on tour.
Aye, well, Paul McFarlane Endless Celts Irish tour, get it done. And, well, we're open to anything. Any suggestions? Any pubs that want us? Come on, get in touch. All good laugh, lads. But we're moving on to the midweek game, Willie. Livingston up. Davy Martindale, I don't know if he's took a happy pill, but he always seems to be praising Celtic at this moment in time. I think he's trying to move away from that Rangers supporter tag or I shouldn't say tag when I'm talking about Martindale, but you know what I mean. He's trying to move away from that association, and he's praising Celtic to the highest. And he said something weird today about if it was pound for pound, Livingston would be winning the league. Strange analogy, but you kind of get where he's coming from a wee bit. You kind of get it. But Livingston, as we always know, tough game, good, hard, tall, athletic, strong players that he's built up, and it's at home, which is an advantage. And to be fair, I'm expecting a comfy win. What about yourself?
I think Martindale's done an unbelievable job there, by the way. And I understood what he was saying, and Jed's coming. If we had gone to our Jed's coming, that's it.
Jed's a fair sponsor.
Jed's in. Jed will be a full-time member. What was I saying, Livy? I think Martindale's done a wonderful job there. I like it's so underestimated. I think it's really underestimated the job he's done there. Actually, he's totally transformed them. They're a tough opposition, and I totally understand what he was saying with the resources he's got. With the resources he's got, he's talking. If we've got like the resources we have and the draw and the club and all the rest of it, I can understand what he's trying to say. I think you maybe have a point, but it will be a tough test. But I just honestly, that's one thing I've got. I've got friends at work that are fans of the Rangers, and they keep singing it's no over, and I'm like, listen, see, if I thought we were looking in any way, shape or form dodgy, but I just can't see us dropping points at all. So you can win as many games as you want, but we'll win more, and that's it. I think it'll be relentless again. I think there'll be changes again. I've been seeing online some people are just never happy, saying we should rotate the squad more and we're going to cause injuries, and he's making 4 changes every week. I don't understand what people... You want to rotate the whole 11. But the squad's good enough, like I said at the very start, more and more capable. That's a good shout, by the way. More and more capable. If it's not working, I think Abada's a fantastic player. Maeda, Jota, a lot of them, but they can't perform every week. Messi doesn't perform every week. And when it's not working, we've got 3, 4, 5 players waiting on the wings to come on that are just as capable. So it's a magic time to be a Celtic fan. I just think we're relentless. We're just going to keep steamrolling teams. And steamroll a few more on the way to this cup final. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. Joe Finlay kind of sums it up, Anthony. Mengen style of football, but hard working. And I think, to be fair to Martindale,
to be fair,
yeah, 100%. But again, you can cry about budgets, you can cry about all this, you can cry about that. We've earned the right, Anthony, to be on this bigger spending path, and we're not going to. We're not going to give Livingston or any other team a chance in the SPFL. We're there to win the league, and as Willie said, we've got options all over the pitch, and it's one of these things you look at it, and I think sometimes managers use it as an excuse or as a tool to be like, if we don't win, it's fine. I hate this term free hit. If they want to be ambitious with their club, you go to these games and aim to win and make your club better. When you say a free hit, it makes your team or it makes your players think, if we lose this, there's no repercussions. I hate that style of management. But Martindale, to be fair, praising Celtic, most of the managers have been. You can't not praise Celtic, let's be honest. But it's at Celtic Park. I do expect a tough game. There have been somewhat of a bogey team in the past, but how are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, like you say, the fact that it's at home, you'd like to think we'll be at our swashbuckling best, as they say. And we obviously, I think we played them just before Christmas as well, the rearranged fixture. So yeah, full card in the SPL, I think, on Wednesday night. I think it's just games like this that you just got to tick off, do the business best you can, and hopefully just get the 3 points and we move on to the next game. But yeah, I think I would, right now, I'll take a hassle-free 3-0.
3-0, like it. And we'll do combined XI at the end of the show, combined 11.
Why not?
As we've been doing recently.
You're talking about the squad depth, by the way. Can you imagine being a fullback and chasing down Jota for 65, 70 minutes and then looking up and Mooy is coming on?
Nah.
Hell, man.
Here, I want to point by Ulster Jack, 2.5 million net spend for Anne's. Not a lot.
By the way, I put that on Twitter and it got a bit of response.
It did. A bit of abuse a bit. It caught fire like that. Was like flames, mate. Good post to put up. But I'll start with goalkeeper. I'll go with Joe Hart. Right back for you, Will.
Johnston.
Right centre half, Anthony.
CCV.
I'll go Starfelt.
I think I'll go Taylor as well. Again.
Number 6, Anthony.
I mean, it's that's the only one we know. Absolutely guaranteed. There is never going to be a change there unless he's injured. It'll be Calmac.
I'll go for Hatate in the 8. What about you in the 10?
I think he'll stick with Mooy in the 10.
Right wing, Anthony.
On the right, I think he'll give Abada another go.
Like it, I'll go Kyogo, and then the left-hand side, will you finish us off?
I actually think Maeda will get a run out tomorrow night.
I can see that. Well, what a team, and what a platform options we have. Joe Finlay, Celtic pitch it. Yeah, I agree with you, mate. And I do want to say, Paul's come in here for great point. Toughest test yet for Agent Beale on Wednesday. It's going to be hopefully a tough game for them at their sisters in Tynecastle. Yeah, the wee jam ones. But again, everybody, join us tomorrow night for a transfer deadline special, 10:30 to 12. I know it's a late one, but if, again, as I said, if you want an alternative to your mainstream media, come to us and we'll probably talk rumours and that and Celtic and every other transfer story floating around. But guys, you've enjoyed this one?
Superb as usual, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been good being able just to focus on the sort of 2 games, Stephen, because like you say, tomorrow night we'll go more in depth with all things transfer. So look forward to that. Our first kind of deadline night sort of stuff. Really looking forward to it. Another big week for the Celts and the Endless Celts.
And if you would like to see a grown man in his mid-30s cry, tune in tomorrow and see if GG wins.
With the scar above his head. But until tomorrow night,
if he goes, that's fucking massive loss, by the way.
It is a massive loss. But we've got and until tomorrow night at 10:30, please join us, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.